Chapter 11, Law of Obedience. Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and you shall be my people. Jeremiah 7:23. To be ushered into turmoil, blindly toil a few years, and then go out into uncertainty is surely not the purpose of man's existence. Life must mean more than this, and it does mean more. Man should be a builder, and to him is given all the materials out of which to construct the kind of life he desires to live. He builds in wisdom or in ignorance, according to his obedience, according to his understanding of a divine law and the use of it in his daily life. Many people, when they learn that the science of living is governed by exacting laws, immediately assume that to live rightly is to live the hard way. They are afraid of a law that is exacting and its demands when it touches their relationship with the finer things. Yet these same people would not be willing that the laws which govern human society should be modified in any way. They recognize that the laws which govern social conduct and activity must be properly enforced if organized society is to function harmoniously and safely. In other words, they recognize that government is for the good of mankind and that without it, human life and welfare would be in continual jeopardy. If this is true of human government and established by constitution and law, it is even more true of divine government, and the more exacting the law, the more certain the safety, prosperity, and happiness of him who fulfills the law's demands. In the realm of science, no laws are more exacting than those which govern the science of mathematics. An accountant, even when he fails immediately to solve a problem, knows it can be solved only by calling into operation the exacting laws that govern all mathematical calculations. Were those laws subject to change, the solution of mathematical problems would be utterly hopeless. Perhaps in no way has religion gone so far astray as in its conception or understanding of God, whether it be the God of the Christians or of the heathen. Instead of recognizing that the supreme intelligence is law, operating according to and as surely as the laws of nature, men have created in their ideas a God who is partial, subject to appeal from saint and sinner alike. A God who can be persuaded and bargained with, a God who gives life and takes it away, a God who heals sickness and causes it, a God who impoverishes and enriches, a God who rewards and punishes. And having accepted this wrong idea, it has made prayer largely a matter of doubts, lacking in that strong assurance that a thing will be so because it is according to the divine law. To many folks, this aspect of truth creates an illusion of a God for all, a God who is not interested in man's needs and problems, a God who is not a father to whom we can take our cares and with whom we can converse. "They have taken away my Lord," cried Mary. Sooner or later, however, they discover that this divine knowledge of the nature of God as law has given them their Lord in a sense so close and intimate that all doubt in claiming their God is ended. For once the law is understood, we hold the secret of eternal happiness, peace, and dominion or mastery over all the forces around us. The word obey means to submit to rule or to comply with orders or instructions. Obedience, then, is the governor of all movement, whether it be mechanical, literal, or spiritual. A giant machine without its governor would tear itself apart, would be utterly destroyed because it failed to obey its own laws of momentum or gravity. An intellectual giant who fails to comply with the laws of learning will become as an idiot. A student failing to comply with or to obey the instructions of spirit, the law of God, will reverse that good and create evil. We are dependent entirely on obedience for our success or failure in this life. Our societies, cities, states, and nation are supported by it. Our properties and lives are dependent upon it. Because of our respect for obedience, we, as a whole, support it. But woe unto the man who tries to break through to pillage, to plunder for selfish gain. As we look into the home, we see the mother training her child into habits of discipline. Tomorrow, we see a happy mother because her child has grown into youth and manhood and has earned success. A success because, back in the beginning of his life, the seed of obedience was placed there, which brought forth respect, obedience, and unselfish thought. On the other hand, we may see where others fail because they have been allowed to grow up being disobedient, disrespectful, and selfish. Business is founded upon obedience, and as each member obeys the laws of commerce, he will succeed. It is only when man expands these laws by over-speculation and by wildcat schemes, inflated values, or lack of cooperative agency that he brings upon himself failures and causes bankruptcies and loss. All our problems of life are due in some measure to our obedience to the law of thought and its creator, God. Our difficulties have been in knowing what to obey and what not to obey. We see the answer in nature. She has no troubles she cannot overcome. She has no problems she cannot solve. She has no burdens she cannot bear, no tasks she cannot perform. Why? All her operations are governed by the mighty law of harmony and order, which constantly removes every discord, which heals all diseases, which rights every wrong, which supplies every need. If, in the winter, a young sprout attempts to break through the soil before season, Mother Nature destroys that sprout, reels it off, or freezes it out. Yet, at the same time, the very snow and ice that freeze the little unruly sprout serve as a blanket of warmth and protection to the other seedlings complying with her laws. When man wishes to use nature in his work, such as farming or gardening, he must know how to comply with nature's law. In turn, as he obeys her laws, he derives the best results, and in the end he will enjoy the greatest harvest. He who obeys the laws of nature and acts as her obedient servant later becomes the master and reaps a full harvest. Every student who obeys the law and is a true servant of God will become a greater soul and will reap the power to control his every condition and enjoy blessings galore. This is what the Master tried to tell us when he said, "He that is greatest among you shall be your servant. Whosoever shall exalt himself shall be humbled. Whosoever shall humble himself shall be exalted." Yet this does not picture for us a weakling, one who gives way to the stronger or is easily brushed aside by the more aggressive. For Paul says, "When I am weak, I am strong," meaning, of course, that when he is weak to obey the law of good, he is strong and spirited. Our mistakes are largely due to the fact that we have obeyed more readily the laws of earth than the laws of spirit. We have subjected our ideas to the outward appearances of things rather than to the inner truths as the law teaches them. Peter and the apostles said to those who gathered about them in the marketplace, "We must obey God rather than man. We must obey the law of good rather than the law of man." They knew that an individual is only as he thinks he is, and if he obeys the promptings of the Spirit or the urge of his senses, his results will be accordingly. Paul says, "Know ye not to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey? His servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness." If we are to obey the Spirit within us rather than the conditions about us, then the law requires us to first think things into existence from the within before we shall see them on the without. Most of our experiences are the outgrowth of our own created activities. These created activities are first to be bound in thought that we think in our minds. The law reads, "As ye sow, so shall ye reap," which is mathematically accurate and true. If you plant a turnip seed, nature does not produce potatoes. If you plant a corn seed, nature does not make a mistake and bring forth a giant oak tree. On the same reasoning, if you plant thoughts of worry, the law you obey will give you something to worry about. It will produce more and more circumstances to increase your worries. If you think of disease and lack, you will receive exactly what you are expecting. Whatever law you obey will in turn serve you. The most important thing, then, is to know what to obey. You laugh at the troubles of little ones because you view them from their true value. To the child, his tiny task seems real and all-important, and not until he outgrows his childish ways can he look back with amusement and not feel regret. Not until we can rise superior to our problems and our troubles can we ever hope to cease to have further troubles. A mother put her little boy to bed one night, but later she found him restless, unable to sleep. He called down and asked that the light be left lighted for him. The mother knew something was wrong, so she went up to his room and gained his confidence by talking with him. She learned that during the day other children had threatened to send the boogeyman after him because he would not give over his toy to them. The mother then explained that there was no boogeyman. She said that the principle of it was to frighten him into submission so that he would give over his toy to the other children. She told him he could go to sleep because there was no real boogeyman. The child had obeyed the illusion of things and was frightened, but the mother saw the truth. In knowing the truth, she could see through the principle of fear involved, and, by dispelling it from the mind of her son, enable him to go peacefully to sleep. The purpose of our lesson is to learn how we might properly choose and serve the law for our highest good. We either serve principle or things in all that we think and do. Things are the events or the results of invisible causes, whereas principle is the true cause and is spirit. Principle is that which we think in our minds, and things are the results of those thoughts. A man who obeys illusions or worships things will have burdens to carry. A man's burdens are the things which he claims as his personal property. Things that he feels are his very own, and therefore he must protect and serve them. Years ago, a relative of mine worshipped illusions and things. He strove to accumulate riches. He worked so hard gaining his wealth that he lost his health. Then he turned about and tried to gain his health by spending his wealth. And in the end, he passed away, a disappointed and disillusioned man. That man, like so many others, had started out in life with the wrong conception of the law of God. Strange, but man does not own an earthly thing. All that he has been loaned to him according to his understanding of the law he serves. Man was born naked, and he dies in that nakedness. All his earthly things are stripped off of him. Even his many burdens become illusions again. His real task in life is to find his place according to his understanding, and that understanding determines the way he lives life. Analyze your burdens. They arise from some ideas of possession that you think. You may have dependents, others who must be supplied, and you feel you must care for them, as they have no other protector or provider. But when you realize the allness of God, who sees even the sparrows fall, you will then change your idea of responsibility. Then, your mental release will permit a greater flow of good to come to you, and it will come to you in many other ways than before. Thousands today are held in bondage to the idea that they must be helped by others, that they must have relief. Their greatest need is not your help or mine, so much as it is a new understanding of life itself. The fear of the future has become a race belief, and it affects all ages. As you obey the law of fear instead of the law of God, you will have many more burdens. For only as we are able to cast our burdens upon the law shall we be free. If you are obedient to the law, you will not suffer these burdens to be heaped high upon you. You will live in the present, do your highest duty every day, forget the past, and let the future take care of itself. For to trust the law, you must know of its guidance by experience and practice. To those who have not learned this guidance, the experience must be acquired. God does not require you to follow His leading on blind trust. Behold the evidence of an invisible intelligence, pervading everything, even your own mind and body. Disobedience to the law is refusal to do what we know is right. We all know the right, but we do not always do it because it seems to interfere or delay our immediate attainment of the object we see. We want quick returns, forgetting that the law moves slowly, yet it works perfectly and well. We want instantaneous healing of our diseases, but we are loath to give up the net of habits that caused them. When we speak of a man of principle, we mean a man who is governed by the law of right thinking and living, a man who is not easily swayed, a man who is not an opportunist, a man who will not deviate from the path of what he deems to be right for the sake of personal profit or popular acclaim, a man, in short, whom one may trust absolutely to be true to his convictions regardless of the temptation to change or modify them. No one will deny that such a man inspires the utmost confidence and may become a tower of strength and leadership. He is one on whom others rely for leadership, whereas the man who is easily persuaded to yield to pressure, even for kindly motives, is not the type of individual on whom we can depend. If this is true of man in the outer realm, how much more true is it of man in the inner realm, the mental realm, because God is principle, not merely governed by principle. The God-governed man is never in doubt as to the results to be gaining by following the principle, for principle is based on law and obedience. So this law can have only one result: happiness, peace, and prosperity. All that is required of us is to learn obedience to the law of truth and not to obey the petty things that arise steadily as we allow our visions to be disturbed and harassed. Blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it. Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people. When we obey the voice, law, then we understand with the Master the statement, all that is mine is thine. This is the law acting through us. As we obey the law, we humble our personal self to the divine self within us. We refuse to accept the outer appearance of things as being final and true, but we turn within and seek that which is real and true as God, the law, intended it to be. Let us live with God in His work, not after we die, not tomorrow or next year, but right here and now. God's kingdom is all about us, awaiting our acknowledgement or obedience of His law. We must be able to converse and live with God, the law, in our daily life. Then we shall live with love and joy, with hope and wealth and peace here and everywhere. It is ours for the decision. If they obey and serve Him, they shall spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasure. Job 36:11. Resolve by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Build on resolve and not upon regret. The structure of thy future do not grope among the shadows of old sins, but let thine own soul light shine on the path of hope, and dissipate the darkness, waste no tears upon the blotted records of lost years. But turn the leaf and smile, oh smile to see the fair white pages that remain for thee. Prate not of thy repentance, but believe The spark divine dwells in thee, let it grow. That which the unpreaching spirit can achieve, the grand and all creative forces know. They will assist and strengthen as the light lifts up the acorn to the oak tree's height. Thou hast but to resolve, and lo, God's whole great universe shall fortify thy soul.